Hey guys, Matthew Rogers here with Practical Bassin. This is part 2 of our interviews from the ISE, the International Sportsman Expo. The people who are interviewed was Randy Pierson, professional bass angler Randy Pierson, game warden Perry Schultz, professional bass angler Jason Borofka, host of the Ultimate Bass Radio Show Kent Brown, Wild West Bass Trail champion Bryant Smith. Let's get on to the interviews. Hey guys, I'm here with Mr. Pierson and we're gonna ask him some questions. So I got my new Dobbins rods. What do you like about your Dobbins rods?
I like everything about the Dobbins rods. The one thing I like is you can get one rod, a spinning rod, and you can use it for multiple techniques, and you can get one bait caster rod and you can use that for multiple techniques. I mean, of course I don't have one rod. I've got multiple Dobbins rods, but they're good, and I've been with different rod companies and nothing against them, but the Dobbins rods, in my opinion, are the best out there.
What's your favorite bait to throw?
My favorite bait to throw? Gosh, my favorite bait to throw, it's kind of boring. I like throwing a dart head. I like throwing a Cinco. I like throwing a river to sea S-waver if I'm doing the bigger stuff, and on the bait caster I really enjoy throwing a Texas rig brush hog. I do well with those.
If you were to give advice to just a kid, what would you?
A kid, what's nice about the kids is now the learning curve is so it's shortened tremendously. When I was a kid, they didn't have all the electronics, they didn't have social media, they didn't have any of that. So the nice thing about kids right now is you guys are in tune with the games, with the video games, and when you come from those video game backgrounds, you're up to date with the social media, the electronics. You get yourself a Lowrance electronic, and you're gonna be able to, you know, navigate quicker and everything. But the kids just get into fishing, get in a high school club, get into college, and you can go a long ways.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pierson. So I'm here with Mr. Schultz.
Perry Schultz, yes.
Yeah, and we were gonna ask him a few questions. So, if you were to came up to one of them, what would they expect?
So, when I come up to you, we're gonna first thing, you know, make sure our safety is correct. You know, we want to make sure that everybody's safe in this whole contact. A normal contact for me is I'll come up and say I'll maybe be watching for a little bit, see if you're fishing. And if you are fishing in my eyes, you know, casting a reel or hunting, you can be hunting too. First thing, generally I'll come up and ask, how you doing? And you know, depends on who the person is. They might say, hi, how you doing? Or maybe they'll be a little reserved because they don't want to be checked by a warden. Next thing I'll do, I'll ask if you have the proper fishing license or the proper hunting license, depending on what's happening, and ask you to show it to me. And then next after that, if you have any game or if you have any fish, I'll ask to see that as well. So that's generally a normal contact for me.
So, if somebody were to become a warden, what would they? How would they do that?
Okay, first thing is our biggest problem is people getting into trouble. Don't get into trouble. Don't do anything bad. Don't do drugs. Don't drink. Don't get in any trouble like that. So that was our number one, where we make sure we do a background check on you guys and make sure everything's good. Next thing is we want to make sure you guys have the proper education. So make sure you go to college. We're going to be in college. 18 of those have to be within a field related to what we do, whether that's criminal justice, biology, wildlife studies, something like that. So after that, make sure we have all your college credits. We make sure that you apply. So you apply and you take a test, and then you go through a thorough background investigation. After that, you go through a physical agility test, a psych evaluation, and a chief's interview. So once you go through all that stuff, get a medical evaluation as well later, you go through, then you can start our academy. Cool.
Thank you.
All right, man. Good luck to you, all right?
I'm here with Mr. Borofka, and we're going to ask him some questions. So, who inspired you to go fishing?
You know, my inspiration came from a couple people, but mainly my family, my mom, my grandma, and my grandfather, and my uncle. It was all my family together. I got into fishing, they got me into fishing, kept me out of trouble, and away I went. I was addicted.
So, what's your favorite bait to use just any time of the year?
You know, any time of the year, I have to admit, I love swim bait fishing. I used to do it even before I was fishing these pro-ams. I was really into it. I was addicted to that big bait, that big bite. And if I was to just go have fun all year long, it'd be definitely with a big, big swim bait.
So if you were to give a kid like me or just all the young fishermen out there, what advice would you give them?
I would say, you know, always stay confident, be humble, and you're already doing it. You're on the social media thing. That's a huge deal. You have to be. If you want to get up there and do the tank like Jimmy Reese, you need to get all your social media done. You also, you know, try new things all the time. Some people get stuck in a rut. Don't do that. Always keep an open mind in fishing. Even the oldest old man can give you the best information, and some of the youngest kids can give you the best information. So, with that said, I think you got it all right there.
Thank you, Ms. Borofka.
You're welcome.
So I'm here with Bryan Smith and Kent Brown, and we're going to ask him a few questions. So, when you won the Wild West Championship, did that affect your life at all?
Big time, man. You know, I actually got to use that money to buy a house, so that's a pretty life-changing experience for us. We moved up to Roseville. I get to fish Folsom all the time now, and I'm a lot closer to all our lakes. So yeah, it was a very positive change for me.
And your second question is, what's your favorite bait to use just any time of the day?
Topwater. Topwater. You know, I like a frog. You know, I don't think there's any other bait that's more exciting than a frog. You know, you get to throw it in the thickest cover. You got the Strike King, Sexy Frog, KVD frog. You know, we've got a lot of good options out there, and we throw it in the heaviest cover and we yank them out. You can't really beat that.
And your third question is, if you were to give advice to young fishermen like me, what advice would you give?
Well, that's funny because I was actually a young fisherman a while ago, and I went to this show, and I got to grow up next to these guys, listening to these guys on the tank. And they would always end their seminar on work on your mechanics, work on your casting, work on your pitching, flipping, be accurate. That's gonna propel you so much further than anything else. Any bait we got, if you can put that bait where it needs to be, you're gonna catch more fish.
Okay, now I'm gonna come over to Kent Brown. So, who inspired you to start Ultimate Bass radio show?
Well, probably my radio show partner, Sepp Hendrickson. He had been doing California Sportsman for 6 or 7 years, and I would fill in on some of the days he wanted to take off. And as we did more and more radio, I was pretty comfortable doing it. And he said, you know, we should start a bass fishing show and just do bass fishing. And 14 years later, we're still doing the Ultimate Bass radio show. We're almost to our 700th show.
So, what's your favorite bait to use just any time of the day?
Any time of the day, my favorite bait, if I have one bait to choose, and I'm going to be real specific, okay? It is a white KVD Sexy Frog from Strike King. That is my favorite bait to throw if I get an opportunity. And the really cool part is you see up my initials on the back of it. That means that came off my boat to put on the booth. So I'm giving it to you, and it can be your new favorite bait.
Thank you.
All right, cool.
And then your final question is, if you were to give advice to young fishermen, what would you give?
Well, you know, there's a lot of young fishermen at high school and college fishing right now, especially high school, a lot of youth groups. And everybody wants to know what the magic bait is, the magic technique. If you want to be a really good bass fisherman and a pro fisherman, what you have to work on, okay? You have to take a business class in school. You have to take a computer class in school. You have to get good grades. And really, you should probably take drama. There's a lot of girls, but you should take drama too, because it gets you used to playing in front of cameras. You're pretty good at it. A lot of them aren't. So if you can play in front of the camera and catch a few fish, you make as much money as Skeet Reese someday.
Okay, that's it at the ISC. So we had 2 technical difficulties with 2 interviews. It was with the sound. One of them was with Ryan Hall. Another one was with Jimmy Reese. And we're gonna try to make those up later. But besides that, the ISC, fun place. All the bass anglers gave me really good advice. Randy Pierson was talking about getting into high school fishing and the college fishing. And he said you want to get into the social media early while you're fishing. Schultz thank you for your time letting me talk to you. I know you guys were busy with people. And just thank you to all the game wardens about keeping our wildlife safe and just keeping people following the law. Jason Borofka was also talking about staying confident in fishing. If you lose a fish, it's okay, you'll get another one. Also about getting into the social media early like Randy Pierson did. And Bryant Smith, the Wild West Bass Trail champion, he was talking about accurately casting. Most kids think that distance is more important. It's more about accuracy. And finally, Kent Brown, the host of the Ultimate Bass radio show, he let me have his sexy frog, the pearl white frog, and when it's frog season, Kent, I am gonna use this, and when I catch my first fish on this, I'm gonna show it and I'm gonna post a video about it. If you guys like this video from the ISC, make sure to hit that thumbs up, comment below, and subscribe if you haven't. See you guys.